right, guys. So we got one more division left. The final division, last but not least, the Rundall division. Used to be my home. Sadly, I'm parting ways, but I'm excited to be a part of Wazette. But this should be a banger. We're going to start it off with none other than Alcor of the guild Lucis. Very familiar guild from a lot of the teams we've gone over already. The team Diminishing Returns with the mascot Mariluk. Absolutely love it. One of the units that Turambar's got on his team. She's a stud at 40, though. And I like to see it paired up with other strike units. We said before, I think Murmur is the strongest 40 cost in general, but when paired with a strike team, she's ridiculous at 40. And he has some really good ones with Perrine and Raldor. I do think Raldor, like in terms of some of our tier 2 and tier 1 strike units, I think he is on the lesser part of those. But Perrine is ridiculous. And just being able to have these 3 units that aren't all the same element, but can, you know, easily use 6 cards all together, and some of them are really, really strong cards. I think that team in itself is really strong. I like that he paired S.E.E.S. We've seen before that S.E.E.S sometimes can be a little overcost, I would say, with like 90 just being a tank and stuff like that. But she offers something that a lot of tanks don't, and she literally can just like shut down magic for 2 turns essentially. And even after that, she soaks damage really well. Has the 30 cost to pair it up with Liarte. Liarte's AI can be kind of weird, so you have to tune it a little bit depending on what you want to do. You know, if you want to go for the Immobilize, you want to go for Charm, you want to just go for Barrages, you kind of have to turn off certain abilities to make her do what you want. But he's got a couple of strong teams to pair up with her. The Rulgia and Queen Mashri. I mean, Queen Mashri is still a good unit. Dropped down to 90 costs in this season. Excited to see some Rulgia play. I have seen so little of that unit, so I really don't know what to expect. Like on paper, I think he's pretty good, but you know, we'll have to see. But a couple of strong 190 cost teams to pair up with the Liarte. And then just looking down to his tier 2s, he's got, you know, a few different 70 cost units, which I really like to see. I love the Golbez pick. This was a pick that I really wanted to choose for my own team right at the end. And I decided against it to go with the Greatsword team. So I'm excited that somebody here has Golbez, because I do think at 70 costs, like he could actually see some play and have some value, especially if he does catch that 140 during the middle of the season. Yeah, it's an interesting team. I think it's very, very solid. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on it.
I really like them. I really like this team. I mean, you covered some major points. The thing is with S.E.E.S, I know you mentioned she can sometimes feel a bit overpriced, but she has just caught her 140, which has helped bring her up stat-wise. You know, she's that bit tankier. Like you, I just want to see some raw gear action. It's a unit I like quite a lot. I actually have a guildmate, funny enough, is Highwind, who we've talked about earlier. He uses him to great effect. And he's also got some sneaky kind of range comps. He's got like a Rugia, Barrett, and then I like the way in his 10th pick he brought in the Raryu. So he can play keep away. He's got quite a few combinations going on. I really like it.
Yeah, great point with that, with the gun card synergy. He can form that full gun team. I do kind of like that as well. Turambar, any closing thoughts on this?
Yeah, Gunner VCs are sneaky good, I think. And you know, his rule job Barrett especially. I don't know, you know, Ryu. I know Sand Rooster. I tried him last season. I think he offers a little bit of damage, and you know, 50 cost. I think he's okay. I'm just really, really keen to see the rule job, just like you guys, because I haven't seen him almost at all, except that, you know, release week. So
yeah.
What I will just say quickly about him, he sometimes struggles in like regular guild wars and stuff because his buffs can be a bit awkward. But in this setting where you need to mix and match, obviously you can set your placements. You can just position yourself tactically where his buff catches everyone, and then it soups him up really well. So I think he could shine in this format.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I think that's one of the reasons why we've seen before that some of these really long-range gunner units can thrive in this situation, because you can alter your placement. You know, in a guild battle or arena where you can't necessarily do that, sometimes you're in the wrong map. Even somebody like Jaden can just get deleted early on in a fight because he just can't get out of his own way. He walks forward to hit somebody immediately, and now all of a sudden he's in harm's range. So the fact that you can, you know, modify your placement, I think, he's got some really, really nice options. I mean, a brand new player, it doesn't show it on his team. I think he did a really nice job for
I
this
did a
being
great
his
job.
first ever
Yeah.
draft. So next up, we've got Dawn, or rather Dawn of Ashes, whichever you want to say. Guild Dead Society, Primordial Inquisition. Ram9, you want to cover this one?
Yeah, I'll take this one. I know Dawn. He's a day one player with me. The reason why I just wanted to cover this is because I said to myself pre-draft, before we knew the draft order, I said if I get first pick, I'll pick King Bradley, and then my next pick would be an enabler. And if we look through Dawn's roster here, I think picking Lorenzo is a perfect partner for Bradley. Not only does he offer, the tons of dispels, he can be played two ways. So you could play him aggressively, or you can have him sit back with the Time Mage. I'm pretty sure we've all seen what Bradley can do once he's hasted up. He takes turns for fun. So I thought he done a really great job in supplementing his number one pick in King Bradley. He's got Naya, who's an incredible support. We don't really need to speak much about her. And then he's varied, got a lot of ice to fend off that obvious ice counter, wind counter. Eliza Snow, Aranea, I'm a big fan of her. We haven't seen much of her in the WDL. She's kind of fallen off a little bit, but she can still put in a ton of work. And then what I love is that he's quite late on in the draft. He's brought in Tunak and Farm, who both of them have the nullify sure hit like Yuffie. I think stat-wise, they don't quite reach the heights of Yuffie. She's just insane when it comes to her speed and evasion. But I used Tunak quite a bit last season, and he's got some great utility in his attacks. And Farm, she can be a bit funny because she can overreach and she can get baited. But Dawn's an incredible player. He hasn't said much in the Discord yet, but trust me, he's sneaky pick for playoffs. I really like what he did with his squad. I don't know what you guys think.
This is probably the comp that has talked most to a theme with the cold triangle. Like we've seen cold triangle, warm triangle plenty, but a lot of those comps before have had 1, 2, 3 picks that are in a different on a different element that kind of like takes a different angle. Donnie is like full on cold triangle. Like what you're gonna expect with him because Naya is there, but Naya has support. She's not gonna be doing any damage.
Yeah, right.
That might be weakness, but at the same time, it lets him play a lot with his comp very much freely. And King Bradley supports here on this comp. It's really good. I mean, Nasha is probably one of the best enabler for Bradley since she can, obviously she has hate and she can tank away wind decently well, which is one of the options you have to deal with Bradley. So like you mentioned, Aranea a little bit fell off a little bit. I don't know if she's gonna get her 140 on time or not. But the late farm and Tunak, especially Tunak, I think it's a really, really good addition to his team. I quite like it.
Yeah, I would agree with every sentiment you said. If I'm trying to find a weakness on the team, I maybe would have liked to see a 40 or 30 in there just for the simple fact of being able to pair up something like Eliza and Snow. But honestly, like it's still really, really strong. And you have the 50 cost Lorenzo so that you can run, if you're looking to run mostly an ice team, you can run RNA with one of these two units and still do that. So I think it's really strong regardless. So I'm just trying to see if I can find something to nitpick. So
if he had gotten Murmur instead of one of these ice units, I mean this team would be busted.
Yeah. It's still very strong regardless, but yeah, I agree for sure. Cool. The next one we've got Koryu of the Guild Galleon. This is actually Kopla's guild, and I believe this is a Persona 3 reference for the team name. I had to ask him about this, so I don't know if you guys have played Persona 3. But I believe this is a Persona 3 reference. I haven't either.
I've never played a Persona.
Yeah, I haven't either, and I think I'm missing out. I kind of want to try one of the Persona games one of these days when I get some more time. So, but Turambar, you want to try and take this one?
Yeah, sure. So, immediately to my attention, the first round Bellis. I think that's something that we've seen almost every season in some capacity. and up to this point, it hasn't panned out. I know Ram believes he can be a very good off DPS. I think definitely he can, but I'm curious to see how he's gonna utilize him. Severo at 30 helps a lot, and like I mentioned before, the 30 cost Severo is one of the best 30 costs available because he can, like, we saw Kazon using him really well, and I think he's one of those units that actually pulls weight, can do some damage, can with haste and courage kind of level the play field a little bit with those UR units in terms of how many turns he is going to be taking during the fight. And I just want to shout out ninth round Halloween Lucia. That seems super late
Oh
and a
my
really
god.
great addition
Mhm.
addition to this team. The last two units, Winter Venera and Caesar, I think they have obviously fallen off a little bit, but honestly, I'm not sure. Winter Venera, her upgrade, 140 upgrade, it might come in the middle of the season as a surprise, and it might be really good. Like I just don't know about that. Dario, great MR tank, one of the best, 60 cost. I think the costs on this roster actually pretty good, just because you compare, like, for example, like Luel Mortimer Dario, like that would be
Mm.
a comp that would be very strong from a Magic perspective, and,
Mhm.
and could basically do a lot of work. So yeah, I like the team. It just has a lot of individually strong units, and I'm eager to see the synergy, because it is a kind of like a mix between warm and cold right here, with a lot of wind and a lot of cold triangle stuff. So.
Mm.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of what you said, I agree with almost everything you said here. Just to talk about Severo a little bit, because I don't think I have it all in this draft. I did enjoy having him last season, and he seems like just a really squishy mage that just does damage from far away. The bravery down is a really nice tech that he has. Obviously, having access to flare is just really nice. He also has access to jamming thrust. So those are three really solid skills. The thing about his 140, the fact that it gives him courage, like, even though he's obviously not designed for it, if you're going against a team that doesn't have courage removal, you can literally just run him with as a tank with a bow tie. I did that in multiple times last season, and you're
Mm.
basically like forcing your opponent to waste 2-3 hits on Severo. Like, if for some reason you can't one shot him, now that, like, you've tied up so much of their time just running him way off to the side, and he probably got one chunk of big damage off. Also, one shout out, if he does get his 140 sooner than later, he gets a lot of spirit penetration, which is one of
Mm.
his only issues that he has as a damage dealer, is he doesn't really have the penetration, but I think he gains 50, I want to say, in his 140. Like, it's a lot. So I could see Severo over the course of the season, especially once it gets his upgrade, being really, really valuable for the team.
I haven't got much else to add. I think you guys nailed it. I want to see some Ziza action. I want to see
Hell
her
yeah.
punching people.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, interesting team. Some great units that we don't really see. And I'm curious to see how he strings it all together.
Absolutely. All right, so the next team we've got Katra of the Guild Lapis, coach of SANDROCK. So right out of the gate, grabbing Stern, or Wing Stern, I guess. Balo in the second round. One of the biggest things I like to see is, if you're gonna go for these 110 cost units, getting a 30 at some point, just like I said, just opens you up to a lot of potential possibilities and stuff like that. You can see from his first 3 picks, he instantly zeroed in on, hey, I want to get a 3-man team that works.
Mm.
Obviously, Wingstern isn't known as an evasion unit, but a lot of these, like, new units, like, you can just kind of run them that way if you want anyway. Light has a lot of VC synergy for that if you want to run that. But Violet dropping down to 80 costs, was 90 last season. Curious to see how that pans out. Obviously, probably not going to get a 140 anytime soon. But with the cost drop, I think she might still be worth it there. She has some cool things going on in her kit. Just looking at some of the other units, some units that we haven't seen in a bit. Like I said, Noctis, we saw that on one other team. Another unit that dropped 10 in cost. So grabbing some of these units that haven't seen a ton of play, but now are dropping in cost, could end up being potentially valuable. The Fina, I'm just trying to take a look at the team here, because I was trying to see 60 with the 110 Wingstern. Adds up to about 170. So really the only option you're probably going to go with those two would be maybe like a Revelka. So Cloud Frederica could work pretty well as like a missile combination. I think this is probably like a decent team. I don't think it's like top tier, but I think he's got some decent options. And I do think, from just my personal opinion, playing against Stern, like the wing Stern in arena, I do actually think he's pretty strong. I don't know if he's like a no-brainer first pick at 110, but I do think that in the right composition, he could hold that value. And one pick I think that is actually really, really solid. I don't know if it'll be for his team. We'll have to see. Charisse at 70 is really strong to me on paper, and I think it's a unit that hasn't seen any play simply, I've said this before, because people just don't have her, or they don't have her built. So I'm curious to see what he runs here. The one thing I will say about looking at this team when I'm facing it is I just really don't have any idea what he's going to use. So that could be something that can be an advantage for you. Like, you can't just look at this team and immediately go, okay, this is the team he's running. So the only team that like seems glaringly obvious is the Wing Stern Violet Balo. But other than that, you know, you can just pick a few of these and throw them together, and might not know what you're going to face. So
I think that Violet, it's not only there for evasion in terms of her buff to gain CT. I think that's the play with Stern, because Stern can get tasted with his limit break, right? So you can make a Stern Violet composition that is going to be taking a lot of turns, and Bale is basically there before he's 140 to act as a decoy, right, as a tank, and allow your other units to shine. And then you have the Roy Revelka angle with the Glove synergy, and Revelka getting her 140 relatively soon. I think the questionable picks for me are going to be Noctis, because I don't think Noctis is really adding too much in this day and age. I think he's fallen up quite a bit. I've tried to use him recently, and really he needs his 140, and I don't think we're going to get their 140 this season. I might be wrong. They might push it, you know, earlier or anything like that. But yeah, that's the only one other than Noctis. I think I really like the composition, even the missile angle with Cloud, Frederica, and either Fina or somebody else.
Just quickly, if we boil it down to sort of like basic strategies, what he's done that I really like, he's got heavy physical threat with Winged Stern and Violet. Then he's got that magic threat with Roy Mustang and Revelka. They can do a ton of damage if allowed. And then, like you said, he has that missile threat. You know, Frederica, she never goes away. She's always around, lingering in the back somewhere. With Cloud, who we know he's got a ton of penetrations. So I like that he's got multiple angles to attack you. On paper, it doesn't jump out at you and think, oh my God, you know, we've seen some stronger drafts generally, but there's enough here to pose anyone a problem. So I think he's done a good job.
Yeah, I would agree. And obviously the Freyavia is a fan favorite. This is also one of my favorites for the aesthetics reason. But we've got Iceheart of the guild Lucis, and her team is Stag Party. I don't know if you guys know about Iceheart at all. I believe it was numero 80. Basically talked her up like crazy in the Discord. Basically said she just runs over people in manual tournaments. It's apparently is a beast in auto also, but one of our new players. And Ram, I don't know if you want to take this one.
Yeah. So the things that jump out to me straight away is she's, you know, the heavy hitters from the missile range. You can see the manual fundamentals in this player right here. Yep. She, you know, Jaden Rundall, he's unbelievable. And then I know we've seen this combination a few times. I don't know if people were talking behind my back, but you know, Lucia's cropped up quite a few times now. So I like that combination. And then you've got King Kuri with Elia. I mean, you know, they're devastating together. And I'm just looking to see any like real key enablers. Oh, of course, Little Leela. Little Leela SR. We've touched on her. She's arguably underpriced for what she does. She's a real steal, and it doesn't surprise me that she's picked her up so early. So we've got multiple range threats. We've got, you know, the time mage in Marguerite picking up late to, you know, with those haste and quicken shenanigans. Sakura Yuna, great choices. Rachel's, I'm not sure if she fits any clumps that I'm not seeing. But if Iceheart's a big brain player, she's probably way smarter than me. So I look forward to seeing what she brings to the table. But you can see what she's done. And a lot of the times with these range comps, if you don't have an answer, you know what's coming and you can't really stop it. So I'm gonna see how our opponents react.
Yeah, if I have to find a weakness in the team, I guess it's that it's just really missile reliant. But the thing is, like, a lot of these units have a lot of missile penetration in their kit, so it's like, how much does that actually matter? And it's not fully missile, so you can't just assume like only missile is coming. I'm curious, like Raychez does get like a 7,500 health magic shield, so running with like Little Leela, Dark Fina could be a pretty strong anti-magic comp, because not only do you have a massive magic health shield, but now you have AoE Diamond Silence for the other team. So if you know that your team is, or your opponent is really heavy on magic, I could see Dark Fina, Little Leela, Raychez looking pretty strong on paper. But yeah, I mean, the Frostbite is really annoying to deal with too. So this is one thing that I'm realizing in my first week matchup, that Iceheart has this combo, same with Numero 80, has both Little Leela and has Curry. That is really frustrating to play with as the opponent, because you have Frostbite for the physical units who a lot of times need that AP and don't start with a ton of AP, and then you have Silence on the other unit to nullify the magic damage dealers. So you kind of have part of that covered on both sides. So I do like that a lot, from what you did here. Turnbar, any closing thoughts on the team?
I think so far of the teams we've reviewed on Rundall, this is my favorite team. I think he has, like you mentioned, it's heavy on the missile damage, but every single unit here has tons of missile resistant penetration, so it doesn't really matter as much. And then Curry is probably the one that has the least. He can, he's not really there for only the damage. And then on the other side of, things, you have Sakura with Yuna as a strong like magic light option. If she wants to run like that, Rachis is there too. Marguerite as time mage that is really really fast and can cast really fast. The Darfin and Little Leela. I think there's a lot of play and power here. If I just had to find something other than what you mentioned, I think countering ice seems a little bit tough, just because you don't have that that fire to go and protect your wind plays. But Lucy and Jaden, they go so well with Little Leela that even a strong ice team might have problems on the approach. So yeah, I really like this team.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. All right. So next up, we've got Thunder Mage of the Guild Thunder Gods with his boy Renan. He's been a Renan fan since I've known about him. Since one of my first ever videos, I think I was making a Skahal guide and I ended up facing this guy in Arena, and he was running Renan back then. Renan has gotten way better since then with his team Shadow Wizard Money Gang. Turnbar, do you want to try and take this one?
Yeah, Thunder Mage here, being true to his nickname, with a lot of lightning power and some of that wind to complement it. I think that's the key to this comp. Renan, at first on the first round, does not surprise me. Renan was really high on our board. That upgrade that he got with the multi, single target select skill, plus his shields and other defensive capabilities. I think Renan is really really good. Not even sneaky good now. Valade on the second round, also a great support unit. And it solves a lot of issues for a lot of comps, especially again when you're thinking about evade and how Valade can just go ahead and buff 60 accuracy just kind of for free on one of his buffs. The third and fourth round picks, though, I mean, I need Thunder Mage to tell me what's the secret about that 40 cause Etra, because I've looked at her. Obviously, when I was thinking about my striking comp, she's the other 40 cause striker unit, right, alongside Meriluk, and I just didn't see much on her. So I want to see what he does with her. I'm excited because it's one of those free units that you can, get everything for pretty easily. So she's widely available. And then Queen, at 70 cost, I think she does offer quite a bit. But, obviously she's not going to get her 140 anytime soon unless we get a huge surprise. But then he basically redeemed all of that on his next three picks with Satellite, Lightning, and Summer Helena, which are all just incredible, powerful units. And then the pick that I think is gonna make Kazan happy is Charlotte on the ninth round. Her upgrade, like she already got her 140. I think is really really good. Like, doesn't she have like 45% protect and shield compared to
Yeah, it's crazy.
40,
the
I
normal
believe,
one?
but still,
40 or it's really really a good upgrade in an 80 cost pair with some of the other options either physically with Lightning or on the Magic side with Ronan. I think you have a lot of play, and that leaves you with your Valeda support. So yeah, I think this is a strong team.
Yeah, the Etra pick is the one that stands out to me. Queen doesn't stand out to me that much personally. I think you probably could have waited a little bit on Queen, but the Etra is the one that stands out. And without running through all the other teams, I guess I'm thinking, if you're Thunder Mage, I'm guessing, and I'm pretty sure I don't know, he probably wouldn't have wanted Mariluke because he's going to run a ton of Lightning, right? So if he was trying to form some sort of strike team, he's probably looking at the lower units at that time and saying, hey, like Etra's really the only one that fits that. So maybe if he was thinking about that at that time, forming a strike team, securing the unit that's not Lightning might have been in his head. That is one thing that went through my mind before I did my team, was that if I did a strike team, my only problem with going Mariluke was I had to have Ed or I basically couldn't run it. So maybe that was something he was thinking. I do agree, unless you're running full strike, I think Etra just is not great. I think some of the other 30s are better. But you know me, I'm a big Queen fan. I had a hard time not picking her in my draft, to be completely honest with you. I had a hard time passing her up last season as well. I mean, talking like missile units, talking like Frederica and stuff like that, I legitimately think Queen in most situations is still a better Lightning missile unit than Fred, simply for the fact that she starts with so much AP. It's silly. And the fact that obviously she can do a ton of strike damage. She has a big healing power down AoE in her kit, which is not something that a ton of units get. And there's so much healing in the game with, self heals. That can be a big counter. Paired up with something like Lightning, is really, really scary. I think the only thing I would have liked to see here, like, I like this team a lot. If Etra was swapped out for like a 50 cost tank or something like that, I think I would really, really love this team. Like it would shoot up more to me personally. Like if he had somebody like a Montleonis or something like that there, simply for the fact that you could run, a couple of those other UR damage dealers and have somebody to soak kits. But I love that he stayed true to himself. He went with the Thunder Mages. The only one he didn't have is basically Skahal. He got Summer Helena. He got his guy Renan. Yeah, I like it overall. And like you said, I like the wind stuff to, kind of scare away the earth.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'd say is just speaking on the player themselves. I think we all know Thunder Mage. He's quite active in our Discord, and I like it because he's asking you to call his bluff. Look, my name's Thunder Mage. This is my roster. You know what I want to do.
Yeah.
But he's got enough variety and some great options. In Sadali's just really strong unit in himself, and he can play support very well. And then Black Rose Helena, 11th pick, I think does a lot for him. Being 90 costs now, it opens up quite a lot of options, and she's still a potent threat. So I look forward to seeing some Thunder Mage matches, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And he has some nice Dark Ramu synergy here too, with a lot of magic wind and lightning units. So I like that as well. All right, next we got Surf Taco, Season 1 champ, Guild Dead Society, RAEGEN against the Machine. I really like the scheme that he picked out here. I thought it was really cool. This team is ridiculous. I'll go through it. Like I said, there's a few teams to me that really stand out in the league. I think there's so many good ones. Like, it's actually insane to me, out of the 40 teams, how many teams I think that can compete. But there's just 3-4 teams I think that are a cut above the rest, and I feel like this might be one of them. For one, the RAEGEN Miranda Murmur Red Mage Cold Triangle synergy is insane. with that VC and stuff like that. I think Miranda's really strong. Murmur's a great 40 cost. S.E.E.S Miranda Murmur is also very strong. So in his first 4 picks, I feel like he got 2 really good compositions. And how the hell that Rundall decided, hey, Sephiroth in the 5th round is okay to get, I'll never understand. But if legitimately you ask me what the strongest Sephiroth comp is, I think it's Sephiroth Whisper Murmur. Like, I think that is the strongest one I can come up with on paper. So his first 6 picks are just ridiculous. The only team that I've looked at and thought, the first 6 rounds were this good is Turambar's team. Maybe I'm overhyping this. I legitimately think this team is insane. I think Uni is really strong to get for the 30 cost unit. You don't necessarily have an 80 cost dark unit to pair with the Sephiroth, but Miranda's a beast. And now you have the Uni to, shut down any sort of haste or quicken on the other side with Sephiroth if you want. Got a couple of fire mages that can work well with Adelard and Kefka. I mean, the Salir Sweetheart, I'm trying to look here, I guess the glove synergy with Kefka, actually, that's really strong with Murmur. I was about to call that out, but that's actually really strong too. I mean, Dwayne is really strong at 90, getting that in the final round. I can't find much to not like about this team. He's got a lot of VC synergy with the Red Mage stuff. He's got a couple of really smart, water and dark teams and fire teams. I have very little to critique here, if I'm honest.
I just want to say, sorry for interrupting you. I would say we're going to have to end the video and open up an investigation because this is rigged. This is rigged. Shout out Surf Taco. We have quite a lot of banter, and I think especially during the playoffs, I kind of wanted to meet him. We were in opposite sides of the brackets, and I kind of wanted to meet him in the final. Great guy, very strong player. And this draft is insane. It sort of reminds me of mine, but on steroids. I don't understand. I can see his thought process in because I think we selected the same 3 units. And then to get S.E.E.S, Sephiroth, and then Whisper back to back.
Yep.
Oh my god, I can't believe I was actually going to pick Dwayne as my 11th flex pick as well, because he actually shares the Red Mage job group.
Mm-hmm.
So all his cards work with RAEGEN, Miranda, and Murmur as well.
Yep.
So I know your play. I know what you're doing. It's just annoying because this team's disgusting. And he's a great player as well. He knows the game. He knows these units in depth. Shout out, he actually got top 10 in the last EM on the manual side, which is tough to do. So it's annoying. You're annoying, dude. But yeah, congrats.
So I don't think it's a coincidence that Surf Taco got a team this good. I mean, the guy's good. He has plenty of experience on the league, on the draft format. This team really doesn't have a weakness per se. He has probably one of the best 80 cost on Miranda, the best 40 cost on Murmur, one of the 2 110 costs on Sephiroth, one of the best top tier, top 2, I think, or 3 70 cost on Whisper. Then he got Adelard, and as a 50 cost, probably the best 30 cost on Uni. He has a stacked roster, and like you mentioned, not only ice and water and the kind of the safety net of dark, but also red mage synergies all over the place, glove synergies with Kefka and Salir. It has Dwayne to kind of do some damage. We saw how his Whisper can be basically the solo DPS somehow.
Yeah.
And now you get to pair her with Sephiroth, so she can be an enabler. She doesn't have to be a tank. So yeah, man. If I don't see Surf Taco in the playoffs, I'll be shocked.
Yeah.
Killmake.
I completely agree. I mean, Whisper low key can easily walk into the fight with 75 slash pen because she has 40 from her Night Lore passive now, and with the Anima card. Basically. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Without putting any effort into it. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the next one is the Pandas. We've got Ready Player Will. Obviously, everybody knows who this is. Guild Visipor. and he chose the panda from Full Metal Alchemist as his mascot. He asked if I could do this. I was like, absolutely, I'm gonna throw that in there. So this is a pretty fun team. Ram, I'll let you take this one over if you want to go over it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Spotlight Son, everyone knows Ready Player Will, great content creator. It's great to have him in the league. You can see, I'm just glazing over now, you can see some really strong combinations. That first two, that combo of Alphonse and Resnick, and then I'm just seeing if he's got, he's got Solskjaer there at 30 cost to glue it together. I know it sounds like there's no damage in that combination, but Alphonse, he can actually dish out quite a bit of damage, and with Resnick behind him, he'll probably time you out. It wouldn't surprise me if he does that. We know he's a thinker. We know he hits the lab. I'm sure they come up with some really creative stuff in Invisible when it comes to Guild Wars. And I see that transitioning quite well to our format. And if we just look a bit further, I think Kadia at 50 is a great pick for him and glues a lot of comps together. You've got Sorrow as his last pick, Zomar. You've got a bit of evasion there. Uriel pairs nicely with Alphonse. Glacial Flagbearer. I'm not sure how she made it to round 3. Do you know what? I think we do need to investigate this division, because I'm seeing some questionable decisions. Great. I mean, overall, I think Will's done a great job. If I had to critique one thing, and it's not really a criticism, it's that it seems a bit top heavy in the costs. A lot of 90 cost units, a few Glacial is a 100 cost unit, and we've got Phoebe and Kadia and Solskjaer as enablers. So what I think Will is going to do, I think he's going to play on the front foot, and he's going to force his opponents to sort of choose really what he's going to do, because he's got some clear attack lines, lightning, wind, fire. And if you guess wrong, he's probably going to run you over because his preparation is going to be airtight. I mean, it's a great draft, isn't it? I don't know what you guys see. Turnbar, you see? Am I missing anything?
No, I think that you nailed it. It also in terms of the weakness, I think he's gonna have to be playing a lot of Sasha in order to make his teams work because of the abundance of 90 cost and Glassy. So I personally am not a fan of Sosha, so I'm just excited to see, his Sosha is probably gonna be 140, 85 reincarnation, so she's probably gonna be a beast anyway. Yeah, I mean this team is eerily similar to mine in ways, right? He has the Alphonse, he has the double fister with Urel, and I have Ed, that's a different, but he has the Eldara and Sarah combination too. He has the Phoebe where I have Chell. So I see a lot of resemblances with my own roster. So obviously I like it. But the Glassy on the 3rd round, yeah, I mean that's I don't think that should happen. Resnick on the 2nd, I think it was probably a reach. He probably could have gotten away with something else. But he didn't, because I'm sure we're gonna see him advance to the playoffs. I think his team, and obviously the player he is, the analytical mind he has, and I think I know that his Alphonse is probably close to max reincarnation, if not max reincarnation already. So yeah, that boy is gonna be hard to take down.
Yeah, so the one thing that I immediately look at this team and I say this team is really friggin' bulky. So I looked at his first 5 picks, and I was like, this is very low on damage. I say that, I don't know if that's entirely true though, because Glaciella does a ridiculous amount of damage, and Alphonse for a tank puts out quite a bit. He's got a few different comps. I know you said that he's going to have to rely on social a lot, but I don't know if that's necessarily true. He could easily run a quasi strike team with something like Alphonse and Urel, with Kadia healing them in the back. Like, Alphonse is going to be really hard to kill with a healer in the back, because Kadia, I think, is one of the only healers that has hate down, if I'm correct about that. So even if he does run out of hate, so maybe you don't want to run one of the pieces of equipment with like the extra hate on it or whatever, she can still sit in the back and heal him up. and a couple of, good strike damage dealers going on there. Glaciella, we've seen how well she can work with some of that fire composition. We've seen that a couple months back, a lot of times in arena and guild battle and stuff like that. I know you guys commented about the Resnick pick. I think that is one thing that, Will knowing how strong of a pick Resnick is in some of that higher level play and how good of a support she is, I think that probably influenced his choice and said, dude, Resnick's only 80, I gotta snag her up. But I could see that I could see that working later on anyway. But I like the team overall. He still managed to pull off a really strong fire evasion composition later in the draft with Sweetheart Eldira and Pissarro. I like the fact that he's got Zoma with some bravery down and stuff like that. Overall, it felt like he figured out caught his stride halfway through the draft and really finished strong, in my opinion. I think he started out a little low on damage and then really started to kick it into gear and made a lot of really nice picks from round 5 or 6 on. But I know he mentioned on his podcast with JB that he had a pick early on in the draft that he kind of felt bad about or wish he would have taken back. I don't know if that is the Resnick pick or what pick that is early on, but I think one of his first 4 picks or something he said that he kind of regrets. So I'm curious to see, though. I think he still has some pieces to really succeed, and obviously he's a ridiculously good player. And I agree with Turnbar. He has said before that he invested a lot of his scrolls in FMA. I'm assuming that is Bradley, and I would not be shocked if Alphonse is the other one. So I think that's going to be a very, very strong Alphonse coming out. Next up, we got Jesus LBL of Guild Get Swifty, coach of the Straw Hats. I don't know if it's your turn, Turambar, but I'll let you take this one because it's your guy.
Oh, I'll take it. Yeah, Jesus, my boy, he is, as you well know, he's sub leader in my guild. He's been with us for a long, long time. So this draft, to no one's surprise, features Edward Elric on the first pick in the first round. Again, I mentioned we were all, kind of consensus having Edward really, really, really high on our board. He was able to pair up with Tifa. Obviously, he was kind of competing with Will for that strike composition at the very beginning. And I think Jesus got the advantage on that because he was able to be after Will. And, on the back from the Will on the 10th pick, he was able to snag both Ed and Tifa, kind of cutting off that angle for Will to be able to pair, Al with one of those options. He ended up settling with Urel, right? Which I do think is a weaker choice compared to Ed and Tifa. So that position for Jesus, I think, ended up working really well. He grabbed Juffy on the 3rd round, which is insane. She should never be on the 3rd round. She's an awesome unit that just warps any matchup on his head because you need to account for a Yuffie. If you don't prepare for Yuffie, you're done. There's no way to come back from that. So Ravi on the 4th round, then the 5th round, Lucio. I mean, we've talked about Lucio a little bit. He is the only unit alongside, I guess, Normal Zazan, who is basically free to reincarnate other than mats that you can actually farm. And Jesus is a notorious light player. So I'm not surprised. I would not be surprised to see Lucio and Sylvie do a lot of work with Zazan on the 6th round. So I think overall, this draft is one of the best that Jesus has had on any of the seasons. So I'm really excited to see him succeed this upcoming season.
I agree fully with everything you said. I think this team is really, really legit. I don't think it's my favorite in the division. I think that goes to Surf Taco, but it's not far behind. Honestly, I think it's very, very strong. Like you said, with everything, I couldn't agree more, honestly. And even then, he managed to pick up Hio in the last round, so he has a little fire team with Yuffie and Hio too. He's got a couple of really nice combinations. And my personal opinion is Zazan is the strongest 30 right now as it stands. I think that changes if Balo gets his 140. But personally, right now, I think Zazan's actually the strongest 30, even with his cost going up by 10 this season.
No, I agree. I mean, I fought Jesus a few times last season. He's a great player. And do you know what? I low key really like this draft. Like you said, Case, on that heel at his final 11th pick, just to glue that Yuffie and then Zazan, that is a disgusting team, because you have to lean into accuracy, and Hyo, he dishes out a ton of damage. So, oh man, yeah, this is a great team. Nice job, dude.
Heck yeah. All right, and we got the final team to go over of our entire league, Season 3, none other than Coppola, Guild Galleon, coach of Holy Divers. Everybody knows who Coppola is, known as the best or one of the best Friday Night Fights players. He came in last season as a new player, and he showed up big. He only had one series loss throughout the regular season, ended up making the top 4 in the playoffs. So he's a stud. Everybody knows it. So his first 2 picks, not a surprise to me at all. Starlight Elena has been a unit that he has made shine so many times. It's ridiculous. It just seems like a unit that in his hands just gains so much power for whatever reason. Grab the Skahal that he did a ton of work with last season. He didn't lose a single game with Skahal last season, I don't think. Maybe one. Actually, I think he lost one game to Machen, and that's it. With the Skahal. Managed to pair it up with Slime, which I think is a really nice combination. I have that on my team, and I like it a lot. Has a couple of strong 70s to pair either way. So if he wants to go Starlight Elena Ramza Slime, he can do that. He can do Starlight Elena Marial with a Victora or something. Howlet Nivlu. Like, he's got tons of 70s here to make himself really, really flexible. So he has, I mean, count them up, 570 units. So he has tons of full UR compositions that he can do. He's got a couple of strong Pierce units to mix together with the Victoria and McLeod. Overall, I think it's a really strong draft. And it's very, very much him. He's a huge light player, so I would not be shocked to see Ramza especially pop off this season. I think at 70, Ramza offers a lot. I think he has a really nice AoE buff. It does some sneaky damage. So, yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot else to say about the team. I think it's really strong. He's got one of the best 50 cost tanks. I know, Ram, I know you said that you think Marial is the best.
I think he is.
And Slime is just so ridiculously flexible. So just having that unit, I think, is really strong. He took Slime first overall in the playoff draft last season. So I'm sure he was really, really geeked to get him in the 4th. So yeah, overall, I think it's a very strong team.
Yeah, no, it's a great draft. The only thing I have to say here as a weakness is a unit that he doesn't have, which is Lucio, which I'm glad that Jesus was able to steal for him, because that Lucio with max reincarnation on Coppola's hand, alongside a potential star like Helena or Rams, that would have been disgusting and very hard to beat. So shout out to my boy Jesus again.
Saving the Rundall division.
Yeah.
Yes, and maybe the league.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the final thing I'll say, it's just nice to see personality shine through in some of these drafts. You know, it just screams Cup, doesn't it? I really, really like his 50s. Like you said, mentioned Marielle, she's a great tank, and then Slime with so much utility. And then you know, it's not rocket science what he's done, and then he's just loaded up with different 70s that just offer so much. And then Nivlu there, you know, final pick, she can throw some quickens and stuff. We know Cop, you know, I could tell you his opening cabinet now, buff, keen blade, more buffs, he's gonna lap you, you're dead. You know, it's just classic Cop. So yeah, great job. And he's gonna be a real threat.
Heck yeah. Well, boys, thanks for hopping in with me. This has been quite a long video. Spoiler alert, we recorded this on like 3 different days, but it's been a lot of fun. But before I let you guys go, got one more slide to go through. So these were very graciously collected by Sand Rooster. So he went through the Discord and basically asked every single player in the league for their opinion 1 through 10 on their own division, and basically said, hey, rank all 10 teams in the division, including your own team, on where you think they will finish at the end of the season. And then he got all the data and collected it and threw it in these graphics. So if you guys are looking at this screen, looking at was at this 2.7, this means that numero 80 was voted on average to finish in 2.7th place. Basically, the lower number the better, you know. So this means that a lot of people probably voted him first, and a handful of people probably voted in between second and fifth, sixth, somewhere around there, and ended up with that score. So that is how it played out. Couple of things to just point out real quick. Turambar with the lowest score by a decent margin, 1.9, means that probably at least half the league voted you first and the other half of the league probably voted you second, just about. So that's really impressive. You know, a couple of the teams that we called out, I mean, Surf Taco being first on Rundall. One thing I'm going to shout out before I let you guys point out what you think is interesting, McCrane is voted last place in the Wizette division. I'll be honest, I voted him about middle of the pack in ours, and I felt really, really weird about that. I was like, how am I voting him middle of the pack? Like, McCrane's a monster. But apparently some people voted him even lower than that because he ended up last. I don't know if people saw how well he did last season, so it'll be interesting. But do you guys have any thoughts on either your own division or any of these other teams that you think might be out of place from where the rankings are?
Yeah, no, I think McCrane is just product of the roster and how it looks like ended up, constructed. Also product of how strong overall I think Wizette's draft was. I think there's tons of rosters and players that are really, really good and strong. So I'm not surprised to see him down there. But obviously, we know how good of a player he is, and he's probably going to overcome and has. Come. I would take. Let me say, I would just take the over on the win total for McCrane if we were betting here. Obviously, really, really glad that the league, my Hindler division thinks good about my team. Obviously, that puts a lot of pressure on me to perform and do well. I'm not surprised about the order on my division. If I had to maybe change something, I think that Colgate's team is probably a little higher for what I think it should be, based on how he just surrounded Bradley. I think that he's going to be a little bit limited in regards to how he can just throw Bradley at you. And Error 404 Snark, I think he probably should be a little bit higher. Same with Lee's, Crimson Lee's. I think he could probably be a little bit higher. But yeah, overall, I think it's about what I would expect on the rest of the leagues.
What about you, Ram?
Machin a little bit low.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to shout out. I've looked mostly at Wizette as I'm part of that league, and just echoing what Turnbull was saying. I think we've got the most balanced league. I'd be very surprised if you have someone run away with it by sort of like week 6, 7, and we've got like 2 undefeated players or something like that. I think it's going to be an absolute dogfight, because when I was ranking these, I actually ranked McCrane third. Probably some player bias bled into that. I know it wasn't supposed to, but I just see a ton of combinations in his roster. So yeah, I think Wizette's will be the most competitive, just because I think all the rosters are of a similar level. If we move over to like the Hindler division, obviously, Turnbull, I don't know how the hell you managed to draft that squad, and I do agree with that average rating you got. I do think it is arguably the best draft out of the 4. JB, not so far behind you. It doesn't surprise me. He did a great job. I just want to shout out this Hindler division because I think there are some great players and great matchups. Looking at, Spike's done an amazing job this season. Maverick, you've got Cops, languishing in mid-table. We all know he's going to probably overperform that. So there are going to be some great matches in that division. Leonis, I actually think, to me, I think Sanrooster has considerable, like a significant distance on the rest of the draft, in my opinion. I thought he drafted incredibly well. I can't remember where he landed Jaden. It was something crazy like 4th or something. Mm-hmm. And the rest of his draft is incredible.
6th round.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. I knew that nightmare had to. Yeah. Anyway. That's the only one that looks a little bit out of place. Again, I think that's going to be quite competitive as well. And then finally, this Rundall division, we seriously need to investigate it, because I cannot believe Surf Taco's squad. It's incredible. The only positive on that is even with his super tough squad, we know that's only half the story because there are some incredible players in that league. You know, you've got Jesus, you've got Ready Player Will. You know, I don't want to name all of them. All of them are fantastic. So I think in all four divisions we're going to have some banger matches.
Yeah, one thing I can say is just from what I've heard from the outside, because I don't know a lot of these new players, is that I think our league is loaded. That's all I'm going to say, is because I think a lot of the new players are very, very strong and did a very nice job in their draft. I think 90% of the league, I think, is like has a chance legitimately.
Yeah.
Oh, it's incredibly competitive this
Yeah.
season. I think it's gonna be the most hype
Yeah.
season of all, and with good reasons. I think you had great players for kind of balanced divisions with really good rosters. And yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be great.
Heck yeah. Well, guys, thanks so much for hopping in here with me. I really appreciate it. I know I took up a ton of your time, so I'm very, very appreciative that you guys hopped in here with me. But that is pretty much going to do it for our season 3 draft recap. Do you guys have any closing remarks you want to say before I let everybody go?
You go first.
Yeah, well, firstly, Kason, I just want to thank you. I'm sure, I speak for all 40 members, and I'm sure that, there are more fans out there that enjoy watching the league. Just thank you for setting this all up. I remember when you first put the message out, hey, does anyone, fancy this crazy idea I've got? And I was the 11th member. I don't forget that.
I almost dropped from the league to let you in, and I was like, but then I was like, I think you told me, you were like, no, dude, like you have to play in it. So I'm pretty sure you said that. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. But it's nice seeing how this idea has flourished, and now so many of us are enjoying it and investing so much time and effort and getting a lot of bang for your buck, really. So I just want to thank you, and I look forward to season 3. It looks to be as competitive as ever. And yeah, you'll catch me in the Discord and in the YouTube comments. And good luck to everyone, I guess.
Yeah, no. Yeah, first of all, like, thank you for putting this together, man. I know that we've kind of been in this journey since season 1. I told you many times before, and I told everybody who I ever talked about, with about the league, this is the best thing to do in WOTF. Like, it's not particularly close to me. There's just so much play, so much strategy, and the aspect of just getting to know people. Like, I just got to know a lot of people, really cool players that you get to interact with, especially when you're chatting over your matches, or where you're just throwing some banter around on the Discord. So I'm incredibly excited about the season 3. I obviously want to redeem myself from 2 prior failures on the final, but at the same time, I'm very proud of having been there 2 times in a row, and I just can't wait to make it a third, and maybe third time is the charm this time. So we'll see.
No, dude, nothing to be ashamed of, man. You might legitimately be the GOAT. I know you don't have a chip, but 2 seasons in a row to make the finals is absolutely ridiculous. I know how hard it is to win even 1 week in this league. So you guys are awesome. Thank you guys so much for hopping on here. Super appreciative. And to echo Turnbar's statement, for any of you guys who are watching, who are players, voice chat with your opponent, because that is a super fun way to get to know people. Sure. It makes the experience like so much better. I highly, highly recommend it. But that is all we have for you guys today. You can expect the first week of matches to come out probably in about 2 weeks from this video, because the 14th is when we start finally playing our matches. So it should be a lot of fun. But for everybody who watched this incredibly long video, or long videos, however they get broken up, just know that I really, really appreciate it. You guys have a wonderful day.